Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 5, Episode 30, DJI Avata on FCC database plus updates. How is everyone this evening? Let's greet everybody that's in the chat. Sorry, was doing things up in the last minute. You know things. Barry Markowitz is in the house. Fly Zone Drone, Flying Flint Media, Drone Views, Akarasho's here, Johnny Drone Flyer, Michael Wright. Captain Ray Kelly, Michael Wright is in the house. 107 Drones is here. Dr. Ted is in the house. Let's see who else. 107 Drones. Let's see. Going through here. I think we got everybody for now. Wayne B is in the house. Mr. Stephen Ewing, welcome, sir. USA Drone Flyer and Drone Shots. All right. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Boy, the big news about the Avata. We're going to get to that here in just a little bit. First question, and I want to pose this to everybody. What did you think? What do you think of my new logos? Just, you like it better than the old one? You like the old one better? Let me know. Just drop a note here, in the comments. That would be great. Just kind of curious. I like it. I really like it. I like the navy blue with it. And we're going to be getting new mugs, new t-shirts, new hats. And I'm going to try to get this together to make that available to you guys at a reasonable rate. Because I know the mugs were really popular. Oh my gosh. I sold a ton of those and my supplier ran out and I couldn't get that color anymore. And I was, But no, we're going to get you guys taken care of. I'm going to make sure that won't happen again. Okay. Just got an awful lot to talk about here. I got to do something here first. So bear with me for just a quick second. Like I said, I was working up until the last possible minute here. I just had a busy day at work. And let's see here. I got one more thing to do real quick. Okay. All right. Let's get that. Close that. That. All right. Let's get the banners up here. Okay. You probably saw something, and I know Ken Heron put a post out about this, about FAA Part 108 certifications coming. And our good friend, Sally French, and you guys, if you aren't reading her blog or go out to Twitter, subscribe to it. She covers everything. I mean, she not only covers consumer drone space, she covers, professional drone space as well, too. And she does a fantastic job at this. And need to have her on. She is an excellent guest. Going to get her. That's a reminder to me. Note to self, Bill, get Sally on, and we'll get her on. By the way, she was the very first guest on the very first episode of Rotor Talk. How about that? Okay. I'll never forget that. I had bronchitis. I could hardly talk. She was incredibly kind and gracious that night. We've had her on a couple times since. She's just a great guest. But this article, and let me go ahead and share this with you because I think this is worth noting because I know a lot of people started going, oh my gosh, it's a money grab. They're trying to get more money from us. And, what are they going to do? They're going to make this more complicated and everything. But let's take a little dive into this article here because I want to share this with you because I think it's important. Most drone pilots hold a remote pilot certificate under Part 107. Soon be a requirement that certain drone pilots fly under proposed new Part 108. It's according to the FAA's BVLOS, Beyond Visual Line of Sight, Aviation Rulemaking Committee final report is published in March of 22. And again, the date of this is March 13th, 2022. And again, these articles are in Bill the Drone Reviewer Facebook group and page, okay? And it's talking about who makes up the committee. And basically what this is here, a proposed new Part 108 could apply to some drone pilots. One of the most significant pieces is a proposed new 14 CFR Part 108. While we currently have Part 107, it spells out you can operate drones commercially in the U.S., we might soon get a Part 108, which would spell out how you can operate drones beyond visual line of sight. This is what this is all about, guys. because Amazon and other delivery services are anxious to get this going. Okay. They're anxious to be able to start to deliver things. And in order to do that, you have to fly beyond visual line of sight. Well, what this is going to be, in addition to getting your Part 107, if you want to work for one of these places, or if you own a place and you want to fly beyond visual line of sight, you're going to probably need to have to pass a Part 108 exam. And again, this is all in the planning stages. I mean, Sally goes on to talk about a Part 108. What could a Part 108 entail? Framed as an extension to Part 107, this would cover topics associated with extended visual line of sight and shielded UAS operations. Just as there are currently a small UAS rating, the new recommendation creates a new remote pilot certificate rating to cover BVLOS operations beyond the scope of the extended Part 107 rating. The report also suggests a test would consist of knowledge tests on relevant areas, while practical training and qualifications would be tied to new remote air carrier and remote operating certificates, which would be required for most commercial one-to-many operations. Okay. And then she goes in to talk about establishing right-of-way rules for drones flying near other aircraft. I mean, this is just some things that please, I encourage all of you to read through this. This is in the planning stages right now. This is not something that is coming up. Oh, it's going to, and again, this is only going to apply if you want to fly beyond visual line of sight for your business. Okay. This is not going to be something for a consumer. For those of us consumer drone enthusiasts who don't fly beyond visual line of sight, this really isn't going to matter for us. But if you do want to fly beyond visual line of sight for business purposes, and again, this is going to be, I'm sure that's going to be spelled out really clearly. Okay. So you guys need to pay attention to this. Whenever I see more information on this, I will pass it on to you. Again, I encourage you to read that article. And also, guys, do yourself a favor. I know I get Drone XL, every day, Drone DJ every day, and I go to Sally French every day. Okay. The drone girl. You need to go out there. Okay. Those are the three best sources that I go to every day to get drone information. And what I like about Sally, okay, she not only covers all the hot topics and everything, but she also goes into detail on some of these things, and she's very good at it. She puts together a great, she has a great blog. Please subscribe to it. Okay. All right. Drone Juice, we knew it's coming. Okay. I think where it's going to reduce hobbyist airspace, I think it's going to be probably suburbia, probably, from a shipping location to your house type of thing. And, this isn't going to, there's still going to be a ton of spaces to fly. For example, I don't fly out, from where I my actual physical residence, although I've done it a couple times. They're starting to build more here, and I really can't do that. I go up to the park right by me, which is totally free, and I don't fly over, any occupied houses. And, it's good. It's really good. So, there we go. That's it. Philly Drone Life, Mikey, thank you for being in the house. Quadcopters and Tech, welcome, my friend. Good to see you here. And of course, Maddie's here. Sorry, Maddie, I must have not seen you slip in, but you're here as well too. Good to have you. Okay, I'm gonna kind of switch gears here just a little bit. I'm going to give you an update on the Fimi TX10 and Fimi X8 SE 2022. I did do another flight this weekend, and the video's all filmed. I'm going to put it together probably tomorrow. It should be out either tomorrow night or Thursday, so be on the lookout for that. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I am going to tell you a couple of things here. I was informed, a good friend, I guess Ron and Marcus had talked to him. His name's Richard, and he and I have been communicating like crazy, which is great. He's another Fimi drone enthusiast, and he informed me today. Okay, and this is interesting, and I want to go ahead and share this because I thought this was real interesting. And you know how I'm so laser focused on several things here. Okay, one of them is, I'm looking at everything and everything, and this is from one of the flights, but I'm going to show this to you, and this is the first time this stood out, and I had no idea that this was a concern at all. Okay, I want you to look down here. Okay, where the map is supposed to be. All right, there's no map. All right, and the drone, it's not going the right direction. It's not going the right direction. So Richard told me he's contacted Fimi, and he said they are currently working on an update for this. They don't have it out available. And the update is going to be to imagine the app and the smart controller. So stay tuned for that. Also wanted to let you know too. Let's go ahead. Now, I'm going to stop sharing screen here. Okay. All right. So that's news regarding that. And I'm going to be putting out that video. And like I said, it's going to come out either tomorrow night or Thursday sometime. So be on the lookout for that, because what I did was before I took my flight on Sunday, there were 2 firmware updates for the drone itself, and I did those. I did a gimbal calibration, a compass calibration, and a controller calibration before I took that flight. So, and we'll take a look at that, and you'll see what the results are. But Fimi has been very responsive with me, and I feel very fortunate because I've established some good communication with them. Of course, I send them a question during the day, I get a response overnight. So that's usually how that works. And they've been very good with that. I just want to let you guys know, I'm staying on top of this. I'm still excited about this. There's a lot of potential here, and especially for me. And you can see here, let's show you the shirt. There's the name of the new channel, Ham Radio Basics. It's actually out. It's out on YouTube. There's no videos out there. It's not really, I have my banner page up there. There is a Facebook group, a Facebook page, a Twitter account, and also an Instagram account for it. I'm kind of, what I'm doing is I've learned some tricks of the trade being on YouTube for over 5 years. And I know some things to kind of build the channel up ahead of time before I get content out there. We're probably going to go live with a channel probably end of August, beginning of September. I'm going to have a show, probably not a weekly show, maybe in every other week show at first. I'm going to invite a lot of the ham radio community that I know and that I'm good friends with. And these ham radio guys are fantastic. Okay, they're a great bunch of guys. They're like you. They're really passionate about it. They're friendly, helpful, and what's really good is, and it's really important with ham radio is education. You have to pass the 3 tests. So there's different study guides to that, and a lot of guys will be more than willing to help you with that, and it's going to be great. So stay tuned for that, and I would love it for you guys to subscribe to that, because I'm going to be having some drone content, because I'm going to be planning on using the having a drop and release over a tree to put an antenna up there. Probably using the Fimi. I might be going back to old school and getting a Phantom. You never know, to do that, and buying a release mechanism for that. But stay tuned. All that's coming up. That's going to be at the end of August. So just kind of wanted to throw my 2 cents worth in regarding that. Got a new picture of the Inspire 3 today. Yeah, let's go ahead and get that up. And that's our buddy, of course, Deals Drone. Okay. Absolutely fantastic job with his channel. Let's go ahead and get that up here. Okay, there it is. No other information. Inspire 3 new leaks. You can see it there. One of the things I can say from taking a look at it, it does kind of, the body, from what I can see, and again, this is not that close up, but from what I can see and what you can see on this, I think it's retaining that Mavic 3 kind of shape, almost what you see on the M30, and it's the same kind of similar type of module system with the camera below it, and also the landing gear on the sides and the 4 props. This is going to be super upgraded from the Inspire 2. There's going to be a lot to this drone. There's been no other information on this, but as well as I know, when you start to see more of these pictures get leaked time after time, things are going to start to happen. Jerome Robinson, did I use the megaphone with a real talk option? I did at my desk and it worked. I have not tried that out yet. That's coming. I wanted to focus on the horizon tilt issue to see if I can get that corrected, but stay tuned for that. And Barry, thank you. Ham radio operators are important for natural disasters, as I hope drone operators can coordinate in a similar fashion. Barry, I've encountered several, ham radio operators who are also fly drones, and that's how I got invited on a Sunday talk show on ham radio to talk about that subject. And there's a few videos out on YouTube that show ham operators inspecting towers with drones, and also using a drop and release mechanism to drop antenna lines over a tree and make it real easy. So yeah, that's very good. Thank you for bringing that up, Barry. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. But that's it. That's it for the Inspire 3. Think that we're going to have something sooner rather than later. September, October, November, who knows? But I think they've kind of done their real world tests with this. I think it's good to go. And again, I think we'll see this sooner rather than later. I don't foresee there being any problems here, and expect it to be a pretty penny here. Is it going to cost more than the M30? I don't know. It's probably going to be in that ballpark, I imagine, plus camera module and everything. My guess is by the time you would outfit it, probably with like a standard camera package, module and everything, and a couple of batteries, you're probably going to be hitting around 20 grand. That's just off the top of my head. Just, figuring the new technology that DJI is going to be putting on this concerning the age of Inspire 2 right now. That's what I foresee with that. So, that's very cool, Barry. Yeah, they have a lot. There's a national. They have a Parks on the Air, and also Summit on the Air. But they have a field day every June. It's sponsored by the American Radio Relay League, ARRL. And they really help promote the hobby, and they do a great job. I wish there was something like that for drones. Okay, we really don't have an organization like that. So, but anyway, all right, let's kind of move on here. Get my next banner up. Okay, all the latest about the Mini 3 Pro. Okay, it's still. Ron's, if you got a chance to, Ron's not here yet, but Ron did a great video about some ND filters that he got. Now it's not a test flight, but he talked about them, and they were relatively inexpensive. He got them off of Amazon, so you may want to check out Ron's video on that. Marcus has done an incredible job with some of his tutorial videos on the Mini 3 Pro. They've been fantastic. I've really enjoyed myself personally. I love the slow motion on it. Okay. I just think it's incredible up at the waterfall in doing that. And I liked it so much when I took the Mavic 3 out for my first flight with the control, with the RC, DJI RC. I did the same thing. Okay. And, it just blows me away how that looks, how that looks and that works. And by the way, if you haven't had a chance, I did put out a Mavic 3 video with the DJI RC for the first flight. It was stellar, guys. I had zero issues whatsoever. No problems whatsoever. There he is. How are you, sir?
Is this the Bill the Drone Reviewer show?
It might be.
How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I got my Ken Hoffbauer Place It Here shirt on.
Ah, nice. Well, you see,
Yeah.
see the shirt I got on? It's my
Oh,
new ham
nice.
radio channel.
Yeah, your new channel, huh?
Yeah, it's already out there. I do have content out on Twitter, Facebook group, Facebook page, and Instagram. There's nothing out on YouTube yet, but the channel's out there. Probably content's probably going to start about end of August, beginning of September. So that's going to be fun. And I'm going to get some. I know several ham radio guys actually who also fly drones. So that's going to be there's going to be a nice crossover with that.
Yeah. There is a lot of cross pollination, isn't there?
There really is. Well, who is it? I'm trying to think. There's one guy, and he drops in the chat from time to time. Great guy. You know, he was telling me, he was talking to me about stuff, and I'm like, holy cow, you really have been. He said he's been on ham radio for over 30 years. I'm like, wow. That's like, well, see, it's gone quantum leaps from where it used to be, because it used to be tubes and diodes and all that. And boy, you know, they would get hot and burn out and just all kinds of problems. They didn't have a long shelf life. Okay. Yeah. And, you know, it's progressed now that, yeah, it's a whole lot better than what it used to be. But I was talking about the Mini 3 Pro. You just did a fantastic video on Return to Home, which was,
thank you.
I call it the Bible. Okay. It was the Return to Home Bible. I mean, you covered everything on that and you did it well. And I think it's important, especially for people who may, you know, sometimes, you know, some people in Mini 3 may be their first drone. I think it's important to understand that and understand the differences with each of those return to home scenarios. Don't you think so?
I do. And let me give you an example, Bill. The other day I was flying out at Julius Kleiner Park, and a gentleman who I didn't know, I was flying the drone and I see this guy looking at me. But anyway, he comes over and introduces himself to me after I landed the drone. He goes, "Man, I'm a big fan of your channel." But anyway, that's not the story. The story is he was telling me about at that same park with his Mini 2, and he had inadvertently pointed the camera straight down, and he said all I was seeing was white. He was looking down at the water, right? And so he thought he'd lost control of his drone, and he thought he had a flyaway. So he is out searching all over the park looking for his drone, and he even got some kids to help him look. And so we paid these kids each $5 a piece to help him find his drone. And he said, you know, he looked where he thought it was and so forth. And he said, oh, he was just ejected. Walked back over to the picnic table that he took off from, and the drone was sitting there. Right as soon as it depleted the battery. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I should have said it was just hovering the whole time. The camera was pointed down, and that's why he thought he couldn't see anything. And the drone, as soon as it went into low battery return to home, it came back, landed right on its takeoff point, and there it was. And the point being that, you know, had he fully understood the way all that works, he wouldn't have been so worried about his drone. He wouldn't have gone on the wild goose chase. He would have waited for his drone to come home.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and that's so good to educate people on that. And that's one thing that I think you do, Ron does, I do, a lot of people do, is to educate people on these things, because, you know, they're dipping their toes in this. They might not have this type of experience, and DJI has done very well. And of course they're an industry leader for a number of reasons, but one of them is I'll call it safety. Okay. For lack of a better term. And they build a number of safeguards in, or fail safes in, to make sure, you know, that your drone's going to get back to where it belongs. And, you know, and hats off to them. Okay. Because, you know, you don't get to be an industry leader by, you know, putting out stuff like a Hubsan Mini Pro. Okay. You get to be an industry leader by putting out things like a Mini 3 Pro. Okay. That just pretty much out of the box is good to go, you know. And I know people having range issues and stuff, but one of the things I wanted to say was, you know, I took my first flight with a Mavic 3 with the DJI RC. Not a lick of problems. I mean, nothing. Good. And I turned, you know, I did like you. I turned my back. I went to the side, went down, you know, nothing. No blips, nothing. It was rock solid the whole way. Just absolutely rock solid.
Yeah,
And
that's
there's Mr. Brown.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you today?
How are you, sir?
Good. Good.
Well,
Ron Brown.
before you guys
I
join
see we
me-
got some good shirts on tonight. Thank you, Mr. Ken Hoffbauer.
Wow.
Ken fixed us right up. He sure
He
That's
did.
awesome.
Yeah.
Different colors too. I like that.
With an assist from Johnny. I think Johnny's his shipping manager.
Yeah, Johnny is the logistics guy. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Johnny's the brains behind the whole operation.
Well, I took the Fimi up over the weekend, okay? And there were 2 firmware updates. I did those.
Okay.
There was a 2 firmware updates. And before I went out for my flight, I calibrated the gimbal, I calibrated the compass, and I also did a remote control calibration. Okay. But one of the things, and Richard, you guys know him?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
He sent me an email today, and I went back and I looked. Sure enough, I found this. Okay. On the map for on the controller, there's no map there. Okay, it's just a circle.
Bill, are you sure you didn't do the DJI firmware update?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Maybe it's a cross-platform firmware update.
I think I had my DJI SD card in it, and some of the bits from the from the firmware update were in there.
Bill, let me ask you. So, had you gone in to try and do waypoint planning, which that drone has, would it have brought up a map then?
I don't know, because I was so stellar focused on the gimbal and the horizon tilt that I was not even paying attention to the map at all. I mean, this is the first time, and Richard told me, he said Fimi told him that they're going to have a solution in place shortly for that, another firmware update for the controller. Now, I also read something interesting too, is here we go again with Apple versus Android. Okay. Richard had heard, well, no, I got an email from somebody else that said that they had noticed that there was an issue. And this was after I got the email from Richard. And what they told me was it has a tendency to work on Apple phones, but not on Android for some reason. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Here we go again. And of course, the TX10's operating system is Android. So it's like, boy, here we are. Recipe for some fun. But the controller's still stellar. Okay. Don't get me wrong. And one of the things Richard and I exchanged a few emails, Fimi told him and was very specific not to download, maybe more than 1 or 2 apps because of storage space on it, even with an SD card in there, because you don't, with processing power and everything, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. And let's be perfectly fair. It's a $299 controller. So it's not, how much memory you think they're going to put in it, right? They're going to
exactly
just enough to do the job.
Yeah. Bill, did you see Maddie's Drone World's recent comment in the chat? He says the map issue has been plagued his 2020 version.
Wow. And Maddie, you fly in. I think Maddie flies Android too.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I think that's, wow. That's very interesting. Okay. Because again, and the guy was asking me, why do I think that's the case? And I went back, Rick Smith did a video probably about a couple of years ago on Apple versus Android and everything. And, regarding DJI, and, it was, from what the basic gist was, a lot of the coding that DJI does is more geared toward Apple than it is Android. Okay. And that's why Android is like a stepchild, Apple is the child. And they always have to kind of do workarounds and getting things in there.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing applies for Fimi.
I think it's bigger than just a DJI issue, whatever. Almost all devices work better with the Apple devices because it's simple mathematics, really. When a company, has to get their equipment working, Apple only has one phone, one operating system. They only have to do it one time. With Android, they have to bring in every Android phone out there and get it working. So it's more of just simplicity. You only have, if you get it working on Apple, you don't have to get it working on one operating system, one set of hardware.
Exactly, and that makes the most sense of all. And but we're also in an Android world, and they make the decision, and granted, it's their right to make that decision. These controllers are all Android based, and
that's just what I was going to say, Bill. DJI, out of necessity, is going to have to be more Android centric because the DJI RC and the RC Pro.
Yep. Yeah. Remember, Apple would never license out their operating system to DJI or any other drone maker, so it has to be Android.
Well, you remember the big to do about I don't know, there was Apple with the government about, there was a phone, I don't know, I forget all the particulars about it.
The FBI case, it was some shooter, I think, in California or San Diego.
Yeah.
And what happened is the FBI automatically locked trying to get into the phone. They automatically locked themselves out of iCloud or whatever. And Apple encrypts it to the point where they don't even have the password or whatever.
Yeah, it's
so the government wanted Apple's backdoor, but there was no backdoor.
Yeah, there was no backdoor. I mean, that just
Maddie, I want to talk to Maddie. Quality stuff right here, Maddie. iPhone 13, nothing but top quality, buddy.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're not trying to get in the phone wars here. Bill's just trying to sort out the.
I am.
Just trying to sort out this, but that's it, Bill. You can't. There's so many Android phones and versions of Android. You have to. You're an IT guy. Like if you have to test one device out on your software, it's a lot easier than making sure multiple devices work on your software.
Exactly. And see, that's the nightmare that DJI has, because, there's an Apple 13 and it's the operating system is going to be the same, whether you get a Pro, an XL, an XE, limited or whatever. Okay. That operating system is going to be the same. But with Android, you have all kind of different flavors. Okay. And, and it's so, and the basic processors is going to be in the Apple, and, and DJI knows that. But with Android, there's just a whole host of variables, and it's a nightmare scenario for them to test that. It really is.
But we're circling all the way back to the beginning of this, Bill. That doesn't make any sense with their own smart controller, because obviously they know the hardware in their own smart controller, and they know what version of Android is in their own smart controller for the TX10 I'm talking about here. So it shouldn't be any problems programming for their own hardware, because they know it. They know the specs.
Yeah,
I don't get that their own hardware is not pulling down the maps.
Yeah. So that's where I'm going to leave this discussion, because I wanted to save some time to talk about the number one topic of the night. And this is just like, it was so funny because it was going to be another week. We're going to talk about the Mini 3 again and all this. And then, surprise, surprise, the Avata hits the FCC database. I mean, it was just like, boom, it's there. Hello, it's like incredible. I want to take a look. We're going to go out to the FCC database and go over that here. So let me go ahead.
And Bill, setting up even more, not less than a week ago, the rumor mill came out and said the Avata would be delayed or whatever. Wasn't coming. Where here now we do a complete 360, because, as you said many times, this database grant means that it's probably coming soon.
Yeah. Okay. Now you can take a look here, and again, just to give you a quick primer on this, I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but there's a lot of information that you can actually read here. Test report. Let's open this ID label. Okay. This is going to show you can see right here. And I know Lauren had posted this. This is where it is in the battery compartment, and it shows where it is, and you can see exactly everything as it's supposed to be.
And we also learned from this that it has a more powerful battery than the original DJI FPV drone.
Now you can see here, there's test reports, and it gets into a lot of detail. And, if you guys want to tear into this, feel free to do so. I mean, that's a lot of data to crunch through. I'm just you can see there's some things that you're not going to have access to. External photos, internal photos, parts list, schematics, user's manual. None of this is available yet. Now there's a confidentiality letter, and this is going to say it's short-term confidentiality on internal photos, user's manual, test setup, external photos. Okay. 180 days from the grant of equipment authorization prior to marketing. Okay. So they have up to 180 days to go ahead and release this. And you take a look at the date here. Okay. The date is, so the clock started on 6/7/2022. So they have 180 days, basically up until the end of the year, before they release this information to the public. So, but again, with 180 days, I think what DJI was doing was kind of like an FYI. I think they were covering themselves because we've seen all kind of goofy things like with the Mini 3 Pro and it, not hitting Best Buy and being only available on DJI and, not on third parties and all this kind of stuff. And, shortages and shipping delays and who knows what. So I think they're probably, this is just my guess is, and I wanted to get you guys' take on it. I think they're covering their butts here and giving themselves as much leeway as possible, especially, COVID is still a thing. Shipping delays are still a thing. Supply chain issues are still a thing. It's still there. Shipping delays still a thing. So, what do you guys' take on that?
Yeah, I just wonder, the first thing that comes to my mind, Bill, is, there could be those kind of things. I mean, we've seen it on every other product that's been released by DJI in the last year and a half or so. There's always delays. There's always issues getting it out. So I would expect this to be the same. But also, I wonder about the price of the thing, capabilities. That's going to dictate a lot of how many orders are out there. I mean, if it's, let's just say for the sake of argument, it's a $750 product, being a ton of people will buy it. Now, if it's a $1,500 product, you wonder, there probably wouldn't be as many orders for it. And maybe you wouldn't get that backlog of orders and it could get shipped faster.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Ron?
Lauren has it in chat here. He said, don't get excited. This is only the release. It won't be available for a bit.
Yep.
And the Fly Zone, Michael Fly Zone pointed out in the chat too. He said that this wasn't the only database grant. There also is one for the air unit for the builders and also for the V2 goggles. So there were 3 Grant ID database things that we found today. So and Ray Kelly brings up an interesting point. Do you think that the big drone reviewers have this drone already, Bill, or are they testing it
this far out? Yeah, I think so, because again, this gives them a lot of time. And what Lauren said, this makes perfect sense. Okay, there's no rhyme or reason. One of the things I've learned about releasing to the FCC database, there's no rhyme or reason, because as I've known before, I know the Spark was one, and I think maybe the Air 2 was one as well. That information got released on the day that it was released. I mean, there's no set pattern or schedule or understanding of this in any way, shape, or form when it does get released. But this 180 days, this could take, and this is just my educated guess, and I think, Lauren brought up a good point. This may be like a November release, okay? They're just getting this out there now, letting everybody know it's coming, and, your beta testers have it in hand, and they're putting it through its paces, because this is going to be a very important drone for DJI for several reasons. One, it's going to cross that bridge, okay, between the real FPV racing, acro, things like Koopy does, and consumer drones. And it's going to fit that space in between there. And it's going to have some of the best of both worlds, although I don't think it's going to have acro from what I've read. I'm not 100% sure on that. If anybody in the chat knows that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I think. So I think they're really kind of, stretching this out here, and it's going to take some time. It's probably, like I said, I think it's going to be here for Black Friday in time for the holidays. I think it's going to be a perfect, because look at it this way. When we're talking about a Mini 3 Pro or a Mavic 3 or something along those lines, okay, that's basically a 100% outdoor drone, okay? Some arguments can be made the Mini 3 can fly indoors, but for the most part, that's a drone you're going to use outdoors. You can use this one, the Avata, you can easily use that indoors, okay? And, in some instances, it may be better indoors. It may not have a great wind resistance outside. So this may be an ideal drone to use inside. So, having a release in the winter months, especially in North America, it's not going to have as much an impact as it would, say, like releasing a Mavic 3 or a Mini 3 during winter months.
Hey, Bill, so, we're wondering about whether it has a lot of people in the chat are wondering about acro. And, there very well may be somebody here that could tell us that may be beta testing one right now. Ron, does it have acro?
Well, I got to check my NDA real fast, but so I'm going back to what Bill was saying here. I've heard the rumor about indoor flying, but I mean, we're us guys aren't here on hardcore FPV, but who's going to pay $1,000 for a drone that flies inside? Marcus, would you even ever in any imagination consider $1,000 for an indoor flying drone? I mean, how much video do you need of your kitchen? Now, I know I'm exaggerating here because I think what Bill's referring to is you could fly maybe indoor arenas and things like that or whatever. But that even if you're a professional, how often are you going to fly at a big indoor arena? I mean, how many jobs? I don't. Again, the speculation this is just going to be a fly indoor, but I think if it's an indoor flyer and it costs a lot of money, it'll be the biggest bomb DJI's ever released. But I mean, I'm just my pure opinion on this.
I'm thinking Maddie's Drone World must have some kind of connection someplace.
Here we go. Marcus will fly inside his vet.
Yeah, yeah, that's my cousin Dre there. I fly in that vet, but it's not with a drone.
Yeah. Bill, who do you think this drone's for? Is this drone more for kind of camera guys like us who kind of want to maybe get a taste of FPV, or is this drone more for the real FPV guys?
That's a great question, Ron. And what I'll do is I'll go back to DJI's first go around with this, okay? With their, I'll call it experiment. All right.
Yes.
With their FPV experiment. It's a good drone, okay? But, one of the things that they found out right away is, and this kind of boggles my mind, okay? Everybody knows with an FPV type of drone, it's going to crash, okay? It's inevitable. It's one of those things. It's like life, death, birth, and taxes, okay? It's one of those things that you're going to face, and it's going to happen, all right?
Bill, there's an old saying in FPV, if you're not crashing, you're not flying.
Yeah, and that's exactly right with that. And that drone was not built to crash, okay?
Right.
Bar none. All right. And I get what DJI was trying to do. They were trying to appeal, give it some style, wanted to pull in some of the consumer people to try FPV and get their feet wet. And you can tell whenever DJI is dropping the price, okay, they're really pushing the Osmo 2 because they dropped the price on that again. Okay. They dropped the price on the FPV because they're trying to get it. And I have a buddy of mine at work who bought it, and he had an accident, lost it in a lake. He ended up buying another one. He got it on sale, and he got a great price. But I think this drone, the Avata, I think that's going to appeal more to the people, say like Maddie, people who fly FPV all the time, who are 100% into it. And, with this being able to do acro on that, that's really going to hit home with them. So I think this is going to be more of a crossover type of drone and appeal to those of us in the consumer space who maybe have already tried FPV and like it and want to get something with DJI brand, DJI quality, DJI reliability.
So,
and
Bill,
sorry, Marcus. One quick point. One of the rumors, there's still a rumor, strong rumor. This rumor's been around that this will have a much improved camera over DJI's first FPV drone. The camera, this will be on the level of the Mini 3 Pro. Marcus.
Well, I was just the way Bill was talking there, it seemed like you were interested in trying FPV, Bill. Is it something that you're interested in?
I would do it, but I think I think in the house, I would definitely try something like that. Outside, no. I would try this in the house, but not outside. But again, you know, what you're talking about in terms of price, $750 to have a drone that flies indoors all the time. I mean, you know, let's check out Valerie in the kitchen as she's cooking dinner. That stuff's going to get old real quick.
Yeah, if you just want to fly indoors, you just get like a tiny hawk or something like that and
Yeah,
fly it around the house for a couple $100. Again, even if this does have a real good camera, how much 4K 60 do you need of your sofa, your easy chair?
The Tello will do that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this is going to be real interesting, and I think you guys talked about price a little bit, and I think that's going to be real interesting too, where they price this. Okay,
How important is the pricing on this drone, Bill?
it's going to be super critical, Ron. They cannot go, and this is just my opinion, from their first go at it with the FPV drone, they can't go over $1,000 on this. Okay, quite simply.
Because we know even if it's 1,000, once you buy all the stuff you need, now you're 1,500 or better, right?
Yeah, they can't do that. They got to keep this under 1,000. I think it's super important for them to do that and price it in such a way that it's going to be, doable for a lot of these people. Because if it goes over 1,000, it's going to be like, you know what? Well, let me just get a Mini 3 Pro. Let me, forget this. This one, it looks like a nice toy kind of a thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not sure that it would compete so much with the Mini 3 Pro, but I guess the bigger question to me would be how accepting are if you're either into FPV or you're not, and so I would think that it would need to be successful with the current FPV crowd to be a mainstream product. I'm not saying a few people wouldn't, just out of curiosity, try it. Anyway, just my thought. I think it's going to have to be on par with other FPV drones out there. And I think what DJI would bring to the table, like someone's been talking in the chat here, is, and Ron brought up, camera quality, right? I mean, to have a drone you could buy out of the box to have good camera quality would be awesome. And a fully integrated system that you didn't have to be an engineer to get it in the air might be a good thing. And like Bill, you were saying earlier, if it proves to be robust, easily repairable, if it's crashed, I would say that they'd get a lot of folks.
I do too.
Yeah. Well, Marcus, right off the top, because it had those ducted propeller things, it's going to be more sturdy right then, right? Because
I agree, Ron.
Are protected. I mean, and the only problem us kind of camera guys, I mean, we're used to flying, even when we fly in sport mode. Well, I mean, a lot of drones, that means 35 miles per hour, or with a Mavic 3, maybe you're doing 50. But even the DJI FPV drones can do 100 miles per hour. So a crash for them is much a bigger deal than a crash for us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because but if this Avata is sort of like a smaller, kind of more scaled down thing. Again, if I would get it, I wouldn't be ripping it 100 miles per hour, even if it did do that or whatever. If it could just go slow, that I would, if I hit something, I hit those inducted, prop guards there or whatever, and just kind of like bounce off a little bit. Again, the hardest thing for this DJI and this whole drone world is they don't make the drone to the specs that the FPV guys want. So they have to lure us camera guys over. And we're resistant to spend that much money on this or whatever. So to me, they've kind of got a marketing problem more than they do a hardware problem.
I think you're right. And I think they a lot of guys were saying they're thinking like $12.99 in the chat, because
that's the price I've been hearing $12.99 a lot too, Bill.
Because $600 for the goggles alone, somebody brought that up, and
that's gonna be a tough sell, man.
It is. It's gonna see, for pure FPV enthusiasts, it won't be a hard sell. But for those of us who are saying, you mean I got to pay $600 for a set of goggles with this? and the drone's going to be X amount, and I'm looking at $12.99 for this, and look how big this drone is. I mean,
remember, Bill, the hardcore FPV guys, they have $600 goggles, but their $600 goggles work for all their FPV drones.
Right. And what's real interesting here, and I found this out a few years ago. I saw Ed Ricker had got his ham radio license, and I'm like, Ed, why are you getting your ham radio license for? The communication frequencies on a lot of the FPV drones cover ham radio bands. So you got to get a ham radio license to fly your FPV drone. So he went ahead and did that. I was so curious as to, like, Ed, why are you getting your drone? And he was telling me, I'm like, that makes perfect sense. That really does. And you guys know, after you've talked, John Coopy is like, I'll call him the Jedi Master at this. And I think you guys would probably both agree with me. Okay. He gave me such a great education. We were on Bill Thomas's show this a few years ago, and boy, oh boy, it was like FPV primer that night. He went over everything, and I told him, I said, John, I said this was amazing, because I learned more about it that one night, that hour and a half, 2 hours, than I knew before. Exactly what was going on and what entails with all that. Okay, and you got to learn. You got to also, if you're a real hardcore enthusiast, you got to know how to solder. You got to know how to put things back together again. You got to know how to source parts and get motors and get bodies and get ESCs. You got to be very versatile with this. Okay. And I know John is extremely versatile, and a lot of people who do that are. I know Dobo, when he got into it, he's into that as well too. It takes a lot to do.
And it was perfect that Al Duran got into it, because Al Duran, he was basically taking camera drones apart and putting them back together. So the FPVs were nothing for him, since they're built to be put together and so on. Hey, Mike Wright had a question back just a little bit, and he asked if the things go so fast, I lost it already. But he was talking about the new goggles being the new drone being compatible with goggles V2, and I think. What I read, it will be, the Avata will work on the V2 goggles. So the V2 goggles will probably come with it. So
okay,
that's probably not doing anything for keeping the price down, Bill. Yeah, look, John's got a good point. Goggles got to be 600, 350 for the controller or whatever. Yeah, it's like John Coopy did that math too. Like, he said that the original FPV drone wasn't overpriced because he broke it down by the components. And I mean, somebody Quadcopters Tech mentioned here that maybe the goggles would be a DJI RC type of stripped down version of goggles, like we got with the controller for the Mini 3. I mean, that would help if something like that was possible, that they could put out a like a less, like, for instance, if us guys bought it, I mean, we wouldn't need the goggles with all the bells and whistles, because we wouldn't have to use them anyways. As long as we could see the thing and see our telemetry, we'd mostly be good, I believe.
Well, one of the things that I think would really work well in DJI's favor, all right, would be to hit someone like us, okay, who, drone reviewers who, we're in the consumer drone space, Mavic 2, Mavic 3, Mini 2, Mini 3, Air 2, Air 2S, those kind, to hit one of us, someone who you don't see FPV content.
Don't build or bind or do all that crazy stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Someone who doesn't, who hasn't really touched FPV, and give it to them and let them experience it. Okay. Because I think that's going to sell well. I think there'd be a real smart marketing move on their part to do that. Of course, Dobo's going to get something like that, and he's going to know that backwards and forwards. And if Coopy were lucky enough, he would know that backwards and forwards too. But for people like us who don't really have that kind of experience, that may bode well in DJI's favor, if that's something that we could pick up and learn, and it's intuitive. I think that would probably help them sell a lot of these drones.
One of the things that Ron and I have talked about a lot is the thing about FPV for me is you're wearing those goggles, and often I'm flying by myself, I'm out at the park or whatever. Boy, situational awareness. I just hate the thought of not being able to see what's going on around me. So you almost always have to have somebody with you to do that. And so that's just one of the things that keeps me back, besides the issue that I have with not being able to see in goggles correctly to begin with.
Hey, Maddie had a comment in there that said that what was revealed in the FCC filing was that the goggles have a touchpad on them to change commands and so on. And I know that was Marcus's problem. What was his goggles you received from that company? They had kind of a catchy name to them, and you said the problem was they had no outside buttons on them. So every time something popped up on the screen, you had to take the goggles off and hit the go away button.
Yeah, it was. It was.
What was his goggles called?
Yeah, I was trying to remember the name. If you hadn't said that, Ron, I'd have remembered the name of it. I'd have to go back and look at my videos. But there was actually, it's kind of a neat idea, I guess, if somebody, if you're flying in the bright sun or whatever. But functionally, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
No, here's something. Maddie puts in there. They're probably going to run 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a little caveat here. What if they made this compatible, say, with like the DJI RC?
That'd be a big deal for somebody like me.
Yeah, I mean, it would sell me. I would buy it in a heartbeat.
But what would be the point of flying an FPV drone line of sight?
Well, it's like, that's a good point, Ron. But I think for somebody who wants to be able to, fly something like that in very tight spaces, say like under, I know you did a great video under the pier the other day. I know you were walking and using your pocket, but still you could fly a drone like that under the pier and in between those really tight areas where you couldn't get like a Mini 3 to go through, or especially a Mavic 3. You could fly through there, be able to catch some great footage in some real tight areas and congested spaces. And be able to watch it too. I mean, and that may be a little carrot on a stick to people like us to say,
Bill, let me just cut in here. If
go for it.
I've got that DJI FPV drone sitting right down here, I've literally flown it once, and the reason is because of what I just described. A, the goggles don't really work for me because of my eyesight, but B, also because of that idea of situational awareness. If I could fly that drone with an RC Pro or something like that, there's no way I'd get rid of that drone. I'd love it. I love flying 60 miles an hour. That'd be awesome. But as it is with the goggles and all that, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. Because I know for me, I think naturally, my first instinct is outside. Maybe indoors I could probably handle it, but outdoors, no. I'm gonna have issues with that. And like I gotta have goggles to fit over these, because without these, I'm not gonna see a flipping thing. So it's just like that. And I know Lauren put in the comments a little earlier that he thinks it's going to be sooner than November. So we'll stay tuned to that. But this is not something I catch that's going to be imminent, especially with what Lauren's been saying, and that kind of adds up.
Well, I think your bigger point was that if they did say release this next week or 2 weeks from now or something, how bad would a release go? Would be right back in the same Mini 3 thing where you had to order precisely at the right time to get it to come right. How long would you have to wait to actually get unless you got real lucky on your order?
Exactly. It could be, the Mini 3 Pro all over again, because it ends up being, it's very reminiscent of the original Mavic Pro in all the delays and everything, because DJI so underestimated the popularity of the Mavic Pro, and it was like people ordered them in October and didn't get them until January. I mean, it was very frustrating for a lot of people.
I mean, this will be a little bit different, at least because this drone, of course, won't nearly be as popular as the Mini 3 Pro. But what happens, everybody wants it, they'll try to order it right away.
Right.
And that'll create the log jam where the Mini 3, even the people didn't order it right away, there's still the second log jam because that drone has more staying power. The Avata there, it'll be real popular first, and then there'll be a lag in the sales.
Yeah, I think
these guys are giving me a hard time, I got to tell you.
What are they doing to you, Marcus?
It's not at my feet. I actually had to get up to go get it.
Oh, your FPV drone.
Yeah, it's here. Trust me.
Oh, they think you don't have it anymore, huh?
Well, no, they said I always have it right at my feet. Well, no, it wasn't right at my feet. I had to get up to go get it.
Yeah.
you should just float over to you, Marcus.
Yeah, this poor thing. I haven't looked in this box in so long. It's probably getting dusty.
Hey, Bill, you mentioned 03 about with the controller. Did you catch the notes for the Inspire 3 or 4, whatever 3 got leaked today about it's supposed to have 04?
No, I did not see
Yeah,
that.
it's supposed to have 04 and 8K 75 frame rate. That's an odd frame rate, but it had 8K at higher than 60 frames per second.
Well, I'm making a bold prediction.
Yes.
And my bold prediction is, okay, I think with a basic camera package on it for an Inspire 3, I think you're probably going to hit 20K. That's just off the top of my head. Now I know.
Bill, can I get a loan? Can I get a loan, Bill?
Yeah.
And last year's interest rates.
Last year's, yeah, really. I mean, it's seriously. I really think you'd be able to get the M30 for less.
Wow.
Oh, did you guys see? I was out on Twitter today.
No.
Guess what Dobo got?
Oh, I saw
that.
I saw
Matrice. Yeah. I was, and Valerie goes, "Is that the big one?" He says, "Yeah, that's the big one."
Hey, Bill. I mean, it sounds silly, but I'd rather pass on the next 10 DJI FPV drones than just get the Inspire.
Well, I tell you what, if it was in a manageable ballpark, I would jump all over it. But I don't think it's. I think it's going to be more than like.
I'm just joking. I said, what if you didn't buy the next 10 FPV drones from DJI? That'd probably get the money together.
So, Ron, almost like the Inspire to me, I don't have a lot of interest in it just because it's way more drone than I need. It's a professional grade drone. It's a big thing, hard to carry around. It just doesn't intrigue me like it does the people that are genuine videographers and filmmakers.
Me too. But it still appeals to me over these FPV drones or whatever.
I get your point. I'd love to fly one. I'll tell you that.
Well, they talked about this a little bit last night in Drone Nation, Bill. Well, Marcus has it that they say the DJI Inspire drone is very loud. You have the Mini 3 is kind of almost, you're really, what do you call it, stealthy or whatever. But they say, Marcus maybe can confirm this. You take that DJI FPV drone, everybody in the park's going to hear it. Is that?
Oh, true? That is so true. But the thing is, it's a cool sound if you're into it. I love the way it sounds. However, I totally understand why members of the general public hear that thing flying around and they might, freak out a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, I have to run. I'm going on with Mikey tonight.
Okay.
He's probably getting the crowd whipped up over there, whatever. So I'm going to say my good nights. But it was an interesting conversation about the FPV, the new FPV drone. I mean, it's closer. I think it's closer than we originally thought. Again, I still don't think it's the right drone for me. I will not be buying it when it first launches, but I will be following it with much interest. So,
same here.
Fair enough.
All right. Good luck on with Mikey.
Good night, guys. Great show. Thanks everybody in the chat for joining us. Good night.
Good night.
Marcus, any closing thoughts tonight?
Boy, oh boy, is it hot weather out now. So if you're going to get out and fly, make sure you take a lot of water with you and stay hydrated. Be aware of the limitations of your drone. Like, for instance, it's going to be in above the drone recommended. DJI recommends at the high end 104 degrees. We're going to have temps anywhere from 105 to 110 for the next few days. So if you're out flying, keep that in mind. You don't want to overheat your drone and have some kind of problem. But moreover, make sure that you take a lot of water with you and stay hydrated, or get out and fly early is a good thing to do. But get out and fly and enjoy those drones.
Well, Marcus, I'm going to kind of echo your sentiments. And also, too, one of the things I did Sunday before I went out to fly was I loaded up on sunscreen. Because especially down here in Florida, you know, the way that because of our position in the earth, the UV rays are very, very high around here. And it's one of the things I need to do is go to the dermatologist because, you know, skin cancer is a very real possibility. Valerie's birth mother died of it. You know, so it's something that she takes seriously. I take seriously. You know, we go out like that. I lathered up. Okay. My arms, ears, forehead, face, you name it. Okay. And along with water as well, too. And take breaks. Okay. Because you don't have to, you know, especially, and you know what, the best favor you can do for your drone, go to your air conditioned car, turn it on, sit in there for 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. And then you can continue flying that way. Your drone's going to cool down. You're going to cool down. Okay. Because that kind of combination, that's not a healthy combination. So, Marcus, thank you for bringing that up. And that's going to be brutal weather. And, you know, my advice is, like Marcus said, go out early in the morning, okay? Because I know, you know, early in the morning here, it's like in the 70s. It's very, you know, the weather's very decent. Later in the day, it's awful. So that's my advice too. And that's my closing thoughts for tonight. Hope everybody has a great week. And as always, guys, remember, it's a great day to fly. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by tonight. Take care.
Bye.